43 Some of the people turned to see a figure who had appeared in the doorway, but most of the singers were continuing, and Milo turned to look back towards the orchestra, or why I bear a charge to E. And in my wild career, as swiftly on I flew, a rarefied gas wouldn't let me pass. Nitrogen! Shouted someone, possibly Cockcroft, thought Milo. But I pushed my way right through. I had some lovely tussles, to make it ionize, but I set the small corpuscles. At this, George Paget Thompson slapped his amused father on the shoulder, buzzing round like flies. Foo, an alpha ray, hasn't time to stay, while a trifling mass of expanded gas, still nitrogen, shouted what was definitely Cockcroft. Milo considered. That stands in awe of Maxwell's law. Obstructs the road when I want to pass, and Milo remembered it like this. Footsteps came behind her, and she turned, to see the face of a man she liked very well. He put a finger to his lips, encouraging her not to speak, but to carry on with the singing. An electroscope looked on as I made that gas conduct. Beneath the field the gas did yield, and the field was greatly bucked. That was possibly the word intended. Sporadic laughter filled the room at what some might have misheard it to be. Thomas, his gaze on Blackett, didn't really notice, and instead fantasized about the time when he would next be able to have the man's body next to his. But in my exaltation, I lost my senses clean, and I made a scintillation as I struck a zinc blend screen. A voice close to Milo's ear, breath warm and soft, whispered to her. She made to turn around, but the chorus came upon them, and she looked back to Chadwick, heart beating. Foo, an alpha ray makes a weird display with fluorescent screen. On a zinc blend screen when the room's quite dark, you see a spark that marks the spot where I have been. Liebeln. One word, and Milo knew for certain who it was who had made an appearance at the Cavendish that night. She had invited him, of course, but HB had always planned to come to Cambridge. She felt her heart quicken. Thomas glanced up to her for a moment, then let go of her hand. But now I'm settled down, and move about quite slow, for I, alas, am helium gas since I got that dreadful blow. And Milo stopped singing and turned to see the brilliant, animated face of her firm friend. HB, she declared, oblivious to Thomas turning around too, watching her animated greeting of the man. Jealousy and defensiveness rose in him. But though I'm feeling sickly still, no one nowadays news that I ran the race so quickly. I've won a Nobel Prize. Liebeln, you sing so well, he declared, glancing down to Thomas, who got to his feet. Thomas Barrow, Milo told him, not breaking her look from the man, as the room erupted in applause at the ditty. And then, when she felt Thomas's arm brush hers, turned and continued, Werner Heisenberg, Thomas. 88,888,888. They had shaken hands, and Thomas had ushered Milo away with the excuse he had to leave early in the morning. He was just absolutely aware of the interest the man had in her. He is staying with Dirac, Milo told him. Her face lighted up, seeming to glow in the coldness of the night. It was a short walk to her rooms, but to Thomas it seemed as if they were wading through treacle. And he's staying long? I don't know, Milo told him, reaching into her pocket for the key, and raised her hand to the lock. He would never get the now, Thomas thought. Although, Blackett's looks to him that night had been smouldering. He followed her in and watched her put her coat up onto the hook by the door, pulling out the grips that the woman in the clothing shop had put into her hair. Do you want something to eat or drink? Milo asked. They had had fried Dover sole, saddle of mutton, with potatoes and cauliflower, apple tart, fruit and gorgonzola cheese, and coffee. For her, it would have filled her for the next 2 days. And they had danced, and Thomas had met HB. She had had a good night. Thomas, hanging his coat beside hers, sat down in one of the chairs in the sitting room area. He glanced at the kitchen, spotless, clutter-free. Did she even own cups and plates and saucepans? Not at all, Thomas told her. That was rather delectable. HHM, Milo agreed, pushing through to the bedroom. The air smelled a little fusty, as if the windows had not been opened for a while. "Do you clean here?" Thomas asked. "It's included with the room." "Mrs. Smith comes every other day," Milo called through. "She will be in early in the morning." Thomas pushed himself to his feet, swallowing down his resentment. He did not want to loathe the first proper friend Milo had ever made in her life. Pushing through, he saw her trying to reach round for the buttons of her dress. Thomas had done them up, so he reasoned he should be the one to undo them. Should be. Not the man who had sidled up to Milo and given her the biggest smile since she had flown down the steps of Downton when she knew she had been given a position at Cambridge. "You can leave your suit in the wardrobe," Milo told Thomas, stripping down to her slip. She reached for her large, oval hairbrush and was stroking through, as she heard the wardrobe door creak, then sat down on her bed, the candlewick bedspread textured under her legs. "Did you enjoy yourself tonight?" Thomas asked, sitting down next to her in his vest and long johns. Milo turned to him and nodded. "The professor thought it was hilarious," Milo replied, setting her hairbrush back on her bedside table. "He had no idea we had planned it. How funny was it to see him laugh like that?" "It was," Thomas agreed. And then he did something neither of them expected. He put his hand to her shoulder, and then to her hair, pulling her closer to him, his lips in hers. Milo leaned in, and kissed Thomas, but then almost immediately broke away. She looked at him incredulously. "What's the game?" She laughed, searching for the joke in Thomas's eyes. "Do you want to be like normal couples?" Thomas asked her, his face serious. If he had to do it, he would. He had done it once with a woman, and once was enough for the rest of his life. But that look from that man. Heisenberg. "Do you want me to, you know?" "Why?" Milo asked, feeling astounded. "Where has this come from, Thomas?" And then she scrambled to her feet and backed away from the bed. "Because I have thought of it," Thomas confessed, looking at Milo again, and then bending over and looking at the floor between his knees. "Could I give myself to you for the sake of being married? But you see, I can apostrophe T. I couldn't." And this time, Milo went back to the bed, crouching to Thomas's level, and took both of his hands in his. "I know, I'd never want." "But, Chadwick," Thomas shot back, moving his head sharply to look at his wife. What he really wanted to say was, "But, Heisenberg," but it did not come. Those thoughts were too deeply buried to come out meaningfully yet. He saw that Milo was shaking her head. "Chadwick is married to Aileen," Milo told him, "the lady who came tonight. They have twin daughters. Besides, we are married, and I know you and Blackett and possibly other men you are friends with." Blackett, Thomas told her, the first time in their marriage of being honest about his desire for men. "Just him. I want no one like that. And I don't think I would want anyone like that. After Branson." The name hung between them for a moment, as Milo, still in her slip, recoiled from him, and then stood up. Thomas straightened, watching her. He kept on saying, "I am Irish," Milo told him. "Technically you are," Thomas reminded her. "No, I am not. Our wedding certificate proves it. I love my mother's family, but I'm Yorkshire, I'm Downton." "As am I," Thomas said. He swung his legs onto her bed, and then held out a hand. Like usual, Milo slipped under his arm. "I'm sorry," Thomas said. "I thought it right to offer you." "We neither of us want one another," Milo confirmed, "and I want no one, which only leaves me." Thomas shook his head. "We are not here to talk about me. I am working well here," Milo told him, her head to his chest. "What is the aim?" Thomas asked, kissing the top of her head. "To split the atom, not release energy, great amounts of energy, free up the world from smoke and dirt and dust, cheap energy. People can benefit from it, electrical devices that are time-saving, labor-saving. It needs to be practical, no matter what Professor Rutherford says." "And what about me? My job? Will it be redundant, in your new world, me Lucina?" Milo smiled, as the electric lights fixed on wall brackets flickered a little. "The nobility will always have need of their butlers and their maids. There will just be fewer of them, and near will be different jobs, people to produce the electricity, maintain the infrastructure. The socialist government wants to nationalize, regulate electricity so it is not monopolized by the few. Thomas agreed. Lord Grantham is livid that a Labour government got in. Monopolised like at Downton? No, Lord Grantham commissioned that, Milo replied, suddenly feeling sleepy. But if power stations are privatised, I can see a place for a basic standard of living, can't you? When people who are different and don't fit in can be supported a little without losing their dignity. It did not take long for Milo to go to sleep. Thomas moved out of the way and shuffled her under the covers, then getting dressed in the clothes he had come in, and sat in the armchair in the other room, smoking and thinking. The mantel clock struck 2. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. He would see Milo in the morning, Thomas decided, and pulled himself to his feet. Milo had helpfully pointed out the new rooms of the academics in the Cavendish, and so, making sure he had everything, because he didn't want to be locked out in the morning. A cool and collected Blackett leaned on the door when he knocked upon it, and almost before he had managed to step through into Blackett's rooms. "I can't say he's harmless, I don't know him," Blackett told Thomas when he brought up Werner Heisenberg, "but I will do my best to keep them apart. He's working with Paul Dirac anyway, over on the other side of Christ's, so they shouldn't be with each other too much." He smoothed Thomas's hair with his fingers, then nuzzled his collarbone with his lips. "I think she just likes him. He is a genuinely nice man, works with Bohr, comes from Göttingen University. Top-rate mathematician, proponent of quantum theory, which fits Bohr's model." But, Patrick Blackett conceded, then broke off, for Thomas had decided it was his turn for his lips to be on Blackett's skin. "I understand your concerns, with that man back in Yorkshire, with Oppenheimer, even, although the man's an idiot. We have had reports of other, really crazy reports of the man. We are all in agreement he should go home, yet his father has struck some financial arrangement with the dean." "Oh, to buy your way in," Thomas replied, cynically. "Not just the upper classes." And then there was no time for talking, and all the time to undertake a hot vigorous night together, until they perspired into a bundle of limbs and torsos, thoroughly satisfied. They lay on Blackett's bed, Thomas in the crook of the man's arm. That was the first time since Constanza, Blackett told Thomas. Thomas opened his eyes and sat up a little, resting his body on his elbow. "Constanza? You are married, Mr. Barrow," Blackett replied, a little reproachfully. "Yes, well," Thomas began, about to explain that to him it mattered not a jot. Blackett leaned back, and fixed Thomas with an intent stare. "Yes, well," Blackett replied, emphasizing the word, implying he was in the same position as Thomas. "And she lives far away up in Manchester. We have Professor Rutherford's old house, which worked out well for everyone." And after more kissing and fumbling, Thomas finally left Blackett's rooms, early enough in the morning for the cleaner of the university rooms to be making her way up the cold steps to Milo. "Call through," Thomas told her, more relaxed than he had been in a long time. "Miss Ashby really is married to me, and she will tell you." Thomas waited by the wall, until the face of Mrs. Smith came back to the door, face changed from doubtful to accepting. "You look like you haven't slept, but looked satisfied," Milo told him, standing as she was in her usual black Edwardian work clothes. There was nothing she liked more than a happy Thomas. "Blackett," Milo called, as Thomas walked her to work. He raised a hand to them both, him and Thomas exchanging looks of desire. Then, he kissed Milo on the cheek, wishing her a Merry Christmas, and birthday, on New Year's Day. "Please find the courage to come back," Thomas whispered by her ear. "There are so many people who want me to share your company with." Milo looked at Thomas in the eye, and took his hands briefly. "I'll try, Thomas," she promised, her breath little clouds by his ear, before landing cold lips in his cheek. "I will try."